people I knew for 20-some years with hearts as cold as stone sit and look at me with such coldness and claim that they were coming in Christian love. No. That, to me, I want no part. I want no part of that Christ. If that's who they're coming into my home and presenting that kind of Christ, I want no part of that Christ.
We've been doing this 8 years. Calvinists. Because you don't agree with us, you don't understand, and we'll pray for you. This ALS crowd that I was dealing with this week. Because you don't agree with us, you don't understand, and we'll pray for you. The same arrogance. The same arrogance. The same know-it-all, orthodox arrogance. Okay? But you know what?
But you know what? They lie. It's that is not what, they may say that. But I know from living through it, they don't pray for you. They shun you.
Right.
They don't speak to you. They don't communicate. They don't come and ask how you're doing. They don't come back and pray with you or for you.
Right.
They lie. They shun. You are an anathema to them, to you. I live it every day. Friends that I've had for 20 plus years walk by me at Kroger and Walmart, give a fake smile. They don't call, email, whatever. No. I don't want their Christ. I want the Christ of Scripture, and I want the Christ that's real and true as revealed in His Word, not from the institutional church that they tout.
And we're going to get some help from an ALS big shot, okay? And in the latter part of this stream on this blog, he quotes me as saying, as I did, quote, yes, you do hold to progressive justification. And he says, my comment, Skubala. S-K-U-B-A-L-A. Skubala! Explanation mark. We do not, all caps, believe in progressive justification. And this is the same as the Calvinists. You use that word progressive justification. I don't believe that Holly girl even knew what it meant. Okay? But this guy just comes completely out of it. And this is the same way Calvinists react. Why? Because they believe the same stuff. Okay? Lord willing, that'll be shown next week in the series. We do not believe in progressive justification. What a crock of skabula! Now it's skabula. So it's Skabala. I guess that's it escalates here. It's getting serious, okay? These excerpts from Clear Gospel Campaign are consistent with my beliefs on this matter, okay? There's several paragraphs here, blah, blah, blah. Justification is a forensic declaration, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Thus saith the Lord. All right, let me read the last paragraph. Please listen carefully. This is also, he is citing this, okay, is his refutation to me. Here we go. Listen carefully. That justification of the believer by God, and there's a couple Greek words there, okay, dekaloa, bukala, bui, I don't know. The justification of the believer by God is a forensic, parentheses legal, we wouldn't know that otherwise. It is a forensic process by which God declares a lost sinner to be not guilty All right, stop right there. I don't know where they pulled this thing from, but they probably don't know it, but I think it's right out of the Calvin Institutes. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm going to follow up on that. But this is what I'm dealing with a lot of times in Reformed thoughts, except it's coming from LLS. Justification is a forensic process by which God declares a lost sinner to be not guilty. What's the problem with that statement right out of the box? How is a declaration a process? Come on, people, let's think. Out there watching, listening, think. When people are talking, think about the words they're using. Process each and every word. How is a process a declaration? A declaration is not a process. Right, okay? Now, it's a process by, that kills me. A process where God makes a declaration. What? Okay, anyway, it's a declaration, not guilty. Listen to this next phrase. In the supreme tribunal, imputing to the believer that spotless righteousness of his Son, in spite of the reality of sin in the life of the believer. So at this, let me,
still has.
right. Now wait a minute, let's back up here. This is the ALS guy. Okay? So at the end, now, what is the Supreme Tribunal? The Supreme Tribunal. That's reformed nomenclature for the white throne judgment, where everybody that ever lived stands before God to find out how well they lived, how well they worked by faith alone. The Bachman-Turner Overdrive gospel. I work hard at doing nothing all day. Okay? R.C. Sproul went to his study and preached the gospel to himself over and over and over again to get assurance of salvation. That's not a work. Preaching the gospel to yourself over and over and over again isn't a work. Really? Okay. So, in the Supreme Tribunal, imputing to the believer the spotless righteousness of his Son in spite of the reality of sin in the life of the believer. What sin? This is a judgment that determined justification. What sin? There was no law there is no law to judge us.
But you already said was a legal declaration previously. Didn't
Right.
you previously say it was a
Right, but
legal declaration?
it's also a process. And these characters at LLS said to it, ready for this? Here it is. Here's what the Reformed call this. Okay? Here's what the Reformed call this. You ready? There's a specific doctrinal term for it. Already, not yet. Heard that before? Mm-hmm. Already, not yet. The same thing. Okay? So, and he goes on, and that any doctrine that impugns the absolute righteous standing of the believer before God necessarily impugns the righteousness of his Son that has been imputed to those who are saved. Okay? That's Martin Luther's alien righteousness. Christ's doing and dying is our doing and dying. Okay? It's progressive justification. And if you live your Christian life by faith alone, i.e. no commitment, i.e. not making any judgment about your salvation whatsoever other than what Jesus has done, it's all the same terminology. It's not about what you do, it's about what Jesus has done. It's all the same thing. Okay? To impugn the idea that we really weren't righteous is to impugn the very righteousness of Christ. Why? Because we were still under the law. Calvin put it this way. This is from the Calvin, the commentaries on the Catholic epistles. John Owen was the editor, 1855. Okay, page 165, paragraph 4. And I quote John Calvin, "By new sins we continually separate ourselves as far as we can from the grace of God." Holly, from the ALS blog, did you sin today? Okay. Thus it is that all of the saints have need of the daily forgiveness of sins, for this alone keeps us in the family of God. And I've got several other quotations around here from Calvin that states plainly that Christians, when Christians sin, if it separates them from grace, and being faithful to the church, being faithful to your pastor, grants you covering for that sin. You say, well, that's Catholicism, because Calvin specifically names the sacraments. Baptism gets you into the church. Water baptism is the testimony that gets you into the church. Now, whether ALS or Calvinism, they both believe, yes, Christ only died one time. But it didn't end sin. Okay, we still sin. So Christ's death has to be kept perpetually reapplied to the Christian life. By faith alone. We're saved by we're sanctified by the same gospel. We're sanctified by the same gospel that saved us to keep ourselves saved. Hope you caught that. Okay?
But that denies the book of Hebrews.
Right. So, what is the true gospel? Here's the true gospel. Okay? The true gospel is commitment to Jesus Christ justifies you. The execution of that commitment sanctifies you. But guess what? The two are mutually exclusive. This is what we got to get. We got to break the chain. Okay? If I had a pair of scissors, I'd cut that in half. We got to separate sanctification from justification. Okay? That's what we got to do. The two are mutually exclusive. As a Christian, you are free to love because nothing you do in sanctification can touch your justification. Yeah, I sin in my sanctification. It's family sin. It's sin against relationship to the Father and my brothers and sisters. And guess what? Okay? Guess what? However, judgment begins in the household of God. If Christians behave badly, they can suffer consequences, not against their justification. Now, ALS does believe this weird stuff that the atonement also keeps you from being judged in this life. I'm going to have to look deeper into that. Okay? But the true gospel, okay, look, you can't get around the fact that it's a trading of masters. Christ said you can't serve two masters. Here is a gospel that says if you tell them they're leaving one master for another, that's work salvation. Why do they think it's work salvation? Because if grace is running in the background and the two aren't mutually exclusive, then necessarily the commitment has to be executed in sanctification to keep yourself saved. Listen to what one ALS proponent said to me. My problem with the whole commitment thing is the commitment doesn't happen instantaneously. And my response was, listen to what you just said. Okay? Listen to what you just said. Okay? Why does it matter that the commitment doesn't happen perfectly instantaneously? That has nothing to do with your justification. The concern there obviously is that grace or justification or salvation keeps running in the background, so any commitment made at A has to be executed perfectly at point B, because justification is still running in the background. And since justification is about being freed from the law, guess what? You're still under law. And the standard of the law is perfection. Okay? Boy, I hope this helps. Okay? And I'm going to be getting into this in this series to show, and hopefully this will help people out.
Well, if not anything, this talk has kind of got everybody's curiosity picked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've had it with this issue. So next week, I would ask everybody to pray for me. Next week, this has got to be tight. This has got to be a painstaking, thorough dissertation. Okay? Lots of citation. Lots of quoting of Scripture. Lots of history. This is going to be brutal. Okay?
It's like putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle.
I wouldn't go that far. It really is simple. Here's the simplicity of it. The fundamental problem with the institutional church is progressive justification, period, and everybody's guilty. Okay? Everybody has run to whoredom on this. Okay? We have got to get the Christian life separate from our justification. The two are separate. You are free. Okay? The law can't touch you. Okay? Yes, you're perfect for a couple reasons. One, there's no law to judge you. Two, John makes it clear, the righteous seed of God is in you. Okay? 3, you're no longer under the law. The guy that was in that jurisdiction is dead. Even if you went and dug the old guy up, drug him into court, the judge has no law. Yeah, you're perfect. You want to ask me if I sinned today? No, I didn't sin today. By what law did I sin? And why are you not making a distinction in sin? There's 2 kinds of sin in the Bible. Okay? Not all sin, listen, I guess if you forget everything else, don't forget this. Every sin I commit isn't against the law you want to keep me under, Baba. Okay? Perhaps that's the best thing to remember.
Absolutely.
Okay? So with that, I'm done preaching.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.